Hey guys, welcome to 100 Days of Code, Day 2. Today is February 4th. Copy paste error, not the 44th. Today is February 4th. Just wanted to talk a little bit longer about some of the format things that I didn't address yesterday. Got a little bit long on the video, of course, but that's what happens when I start out. And then I also wanted to talk about a couple of topics that are pretty relevant to me right now, but I think are relevant to a lot of people. So without any further ado, I wanted to talk very briefly about the 100 Days of Coding project and where we're at. First of all, my goal with 100 Days of Coding is to stop moving my neck so much because I think it's very distracting. And so if you see me moving my neck, sticking my chin out and stuff, please let me know in the comments below so I can try not to do it. Day 2. So blog and written entries. So one of the goals that I have on this 100 Days of Code is to spend 100 days thinking about code, working about code, talking about code, those sorts of things. On days when I spend a lot of time working, I might make shorter entries. On days where I spend less time working, I might make longer entries, like yesterday. They won't all be video entries. I really don't foresee that everything's going to be a video. I'm expecting that I'm going to do some blogging posts and some other options on the website, maybe some text posts, short posts, long posts, tutorials, something along those lines as part of it. So you won't have to sit through and watch me talk for 50 something minutes every single day. If you do want to though, please leave a like on the long video and give me a subscription, and I'll be sure to make more longer videos if that's what you like. So today's video, my goal is to have a short video, and I've got a time crunch today anyways, but for the blog and written entries, it's going to be some short form, some long form. I don't have the format completely set in stone right now, but I'm starting with these videos because they're easy to just sit down and shoot. The video format I wanted to talk a little bit about, in case you're familiar with some of my other videos, you know that I generally prefer to, dress a little bit nicer, look presentable, try and make my videos enjoyable and look well put together. But for this series, I really wanted to set the expectation as just here's what it is, here's the bare honest truth, here's what it's like. This is, if you wake up tomorrow and you want to be a Python developer, you want to learn how to be a Python developer, this is what it'll probably be like, or you'll be able to draw some lessons or some inferences from what I do. That being said, everyone's journey is different. I'm at a certain point in my experience, and I'm very early on in my learning experience, and so it's going to be different for me 6 months from now. It's going to be different from you if you start tomorrow, and it's probably different for you if you started 2 years ago. You're probably a few steps ahead of me or not. I don't know. It just depends on everyone's journey. So with that being said, I like these videos to be a little bit more informal, which is why I'm wearing my sweatshirt, just kind of sitting here and chatting. The blog post will probably be a similar way, just kind of writing them down as my thoughts, just capture my thoughts and capture the point. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted dealing with this other stuff. But yeah, that covers video format and blog and written entries. The two main topics that I wanted to talk about today that I see popping up on Learn Python subreddit, on message boards all over the place, just things that people talk about that I've had to deal with or face myself, and that's how to choose projects and how to stop burnout before it starts. Both of these topics I don't have a lot of experience on, because if you watched yesterday's video, you'll see the entirety of my Python experience, and it's not a lot. So, these are thoughts from an introductory programmer. They're not, the tried and true methods. They're not complete, this is a strategy, a 10-point strategy where you'll never get tired of doing what you do. You'll never want to break. I honestly think if you don't ever want to break from something, then you should probably stop doing that, because you should want to break from everything. If there's something that you're doing, you don't want to break from crack cocaine, but you probably should take one. So I think it just kind of depends on your experience. But to talk about how to choose projects first, and one day I'd like to use this whiteboard in my videos. We'll be moving soon, so maybe I'll be able to set up my studio a little bit better and more conducive for using this whiteboard. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys a quick little taste of what my process is like and what I do. So what I like to do really is, when I wake up in the morning, kind of identify, like, if I could just make a list of a bunch of things and at the end of the day they were done, what would I want to be on that list? And obviously there's a lot more things that I want to be done than I can actually get done. And so setting realistic expectations is important. But for me, these lists aren't what I'm going to do today. They're a list of all the things that are important to me that I want to consider working on today. If I only get 20 minutes to work today, then I want to be able to spend that 20 minutes on something that I want to do, not 20 minutes figuring out what's the best thing to do, and then there my time goes. And so when I wake up in the morning, or when I sit down to start work in the morning, I try and make these lists, whether it be lists of active projects versus inactive projects, lists of projects I want to work on, lists of projects that need to get done, lists of deadlines that I need to meet, something along those lines. Just a list to get all the information out so I can look at it all at once and not have to keep it all stored in my head, and be able to determine what's the best course of action. Just like on your computer, when you save a file, it goes to your hard drive. And if you want to load that file again, it takes a while to load. But if you've got a file open, then it's loaded into memory. It's a lot faster to retrieve that file, make edits, save that file, things like that. And so by putting them on the board, I feel like it pulls all the things that I want to work on and puts them into my active memory. And I can just browse through my memory real quick and just be like, okay, this is what I want to work on right now, and start working on it. Versus the concept of keeping it in storage, which would be not writing it down, just keeping it in my brain and having to sit down and think, now what was that project? Where was I with this? Trying to figure out what I was doing and what I want to do. And that's a frustrating feeling, especially if you spend 20 minutes staring at a blank computer screen because you just can't remember what you wanted to do. I've had that happen to me before. So, how to choose the projects. I make these lists. Today, I wrote up a list on my board. Let me see if you guys can see the list. If I pop this camera over real quick, and there we go. I've got, on this side, I've got the fun list. And it says fun, OpenCV, ML course, and blog. Those are the three things that I am interested in doing today when I want something fun to do. And the other list, which is over here, this is the work list, and I have two things on it: tester and Whelming West flask. And those are two projects two facets of the Whelming West project that I really am interested in doing. I'm going to bring this back over to myself now. And those are things that I want to get done today, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to, because we don't always have time to work on the fun projects. Sometimes we just have to work on work projects. Sometimes we don't get to work on either of those lists. We have to work on something else. So it's all a decision-making process. Let me throw this back up. It's all a decision-making process, and I want to be able to have these lists because I want to know that I can just look at this list, pick something, and start working. If I say, okay, I've got an hour right now, what do I want to work on? All I got to do is look over. I got 5 options. Pick one. Roll a 10-sided die, divide by 2. Do whatever floats your boat. or you can just sit and listen to the garbage truck outside, of course. Um, so for choosing projects, I keep these lists on my whiteboard. You can write them on a piece of paper. You can write them on a Google Doc like this, Google Keep, whatever you want to do. Keep it on a local file. But I like to keep these lists around because when it comes time to work, all I want to choose is, do I want to work on something fun or do I want to get something done that I have been wanting to do? And I think that it's important to have these lists available so you can quickly identify them. For example, OpenCV. I'm really interested in computer vision, so I really want to work on making a Python script that can use the OpenCV library and take a couple tutorials, see how I can integrate that work. I've actually got some pictures right now, a couple different sets of pictures that I want to use OpenCV to process, maybe get some information out of the picture, identify people or animals or objects in the picture, things like that. So that's something I want to do that I'm excited about. Another thing is my machine learning course. I'm really enjoying that Jose Portilla machine learning course, and I want to work more on that. And then my blog, obviously I'm doing these videos, so you can tell I really enjoy working on this blog, but I also want to do text posts, and I've got some other stuff like working on setting up a Gemini page for my blog, or possibly managing it just on my portfolio page, maybe making a Flask, maybe getting a Wagtail CMS integration built into my Django portfolio page so that I can easily update it just like WordPress, all these fun things that I want to do. But then of course in my work list is things like the tester, where I'm at the stage in the project where it's not working and I don't get why, and I really just have to break it down, bring it down to its constituent components, make sure the core is working, and then build the UI back on top of it to figure out where the problems lie. And West Flask is it's a little bit of a mess as well that I need to clean up. And I'm not really looking forward to those. But if I want to get stuff done, then that's the list that I go to. And so I think it's important to have those lists so that you can know what you want to work on. How do I choose these projects that go on the list? I mean, it really ties into the same thing on stopping burnout, which I'll talk about briefly as well, but kind of tying them together is just be on watch YouTube videos, read posts. I was reading some posts on Gemini the other day that talked about where someone wrote an article talking about sequencing their DNA using a USB device. And I thought that was really cool. I was reading about it, I was really enjoying it. And of course, the next day I see an article on The Verge or something about it. But it was just really interesting, and I thought, that's not something I would do, but that's the kind of stuff that I do to find things that I'm interested in and might want to use myself. OpenCV, I hear about it talked about a lot on podcasts that I listen to, YouTube videos that are talked about, I think that choosing a library that you want to work with and then looking for projects in it can be a good way, but also just make a list of things that you would want to do, with OpenCV, if your computer could detect images and you could do anything with that, what would you do? Set that goal, write it down, and I guarantee you there's probably a way already. There's probably a library that you can install using your package manager and do it in 20 seconds. That was the story of Fetcher. I wanted to download YouTube videos. Turns out someone else has already wanted to do that, and they built it all out for me. All I had to do was connect the dots and make it all work. And so, thinking about things that you want, thinking about things that you want to do, and just doing those. Some days I wake up and I think, oh, I need to work on these things on my work list, but I don't have the energy. I just don't have the mentality. I'm not ready for it. And, some days you just got to push yourself to do it, and some days you don't. It just depends on how... Okay. Excuse me. It just depends on how you're feeling that day. It depends on how much work you've got. Some days you just have to pour your coffee and force yourself. Just get through it. And some days you just don't, I mean, today, for example, the last couple days even, I've been really feeling a little bit burnt out on some of these projects that I've been working on. And I mean, the honest answer that I have is, if you're working on something, if your work list has things that you want, that you need to work on, but you just don't want to work on them, then just don't work on them. I mean, sometimes if you have to force yourself to get a deadline done, you have to force yourself to get a deadline done. I'm in the lucky position that no one's paying me to do any of these things. No one is telling me how to do them, when to do them, why to do them. I get to do them all by myself. And that's one of the beauties of just developing on your own, just doing it in your free time. No one can tell you when, how, why, anything about how you do your work. You just do it the way you want. And if I want to walk up there and erase my work list and only work on fun projects, then by golly, I'm going to do that, you know? I think it's really important to feel like you have autonomy over the projects that you make, or else, you know, the fun work starts to feel like work, you know? Like, if I had to do a TPS report for every Django page that I made, I probably wouldn't want to do it, you know? But, you know, and I think that when you if you want to work yourself hard, if you want to push yourself and see how much you can do, that's great, you know, if you're motivated to do that. But I would say if you're really going to push yourself as hard as you can, find someone to pay you to do that, you know? And if no one's going to pay you to do it, then really think about, do I really want to do this? Or could I use my efforts somewhere else, you know? I got really excited about Django and learning Django and stuff, and eventually I came to the point where I realized that, like, well, I could learn all this stuff, but would I really enjoy having to push myself to deal with this stuff on a third quarter, you know, like Friday night at 10 p.m., I've got 2 hours to the deadline and the page won't run without debug being true, you know, like, because there's a static files issue that I gotta root out. Do I really want to deal with that? Do I really want to have to push myself on that? Maybe, maybe not. That's a decision for you to make, you know. But you have to actively make the decision about where you want to spend your time, and also make sure that you're spending your time on things that you want to spend your time on in the future, you know. If you enjoy working on it now, make sure it's something that you're going to enjoy working on it when you don't want to work on it, you know. The tester stuff, it's kind of been frustrating me, but I work on it at least 2 or 3 times a week. I'll open up the code and fix a few things here and there just because, like, not because I feel like I have to, but because I just really want to. I know that when it's going to work, it's great. And I've gotten prototypes working that really helped motivate me to keep working on it. But I wouldn't have worked on it if I had forced myself to work on it every single day, you know? If I force myself to work on the same project every single day and I don't want to work on it, I'm going to just stop caring and I'm just going to eventually give up and abandon the project, you know? Sometimes working slowly gets things done faster than working quickly. Because if you work quickly, you know, tortoise and the hare, if you work quickly and then you burn out and you stop and you give up and you don't want to come back to it for 6 months because it leaves such a bad taste in your mouth, versus working slowly and it takes an extra 2 months to come to a product, or, you know, a product that you can ship, I'll take that 2 months, you know. I'd much rather take my time and do it right than rush it, ruin it, and, you know, take the opportunity of, I had a project I wanted to work on and I threw it in the trash because I worked too hard. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, our life is a sum of the things that we do and our thoughts, actions, feelings, emotions. And so if we spend all of our time doing things that we want to do so much that we no longer want to do them, then even though we started by making the choice to live a life doing the things that we want to do, we move into this setting that now those things become things we don't want to do because we did them in a way we didn't want to. So, I mean, if the message of day one was take the steps to do the actions that you truly want to do, the message of day 2 is when you find those things that you want to do them in a way where you're going to still want to do them 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. I mean, I think that's the main point of today with how to choose projects and how to stop burnout. Find things that you like and work on them. If you have things that you like but you don't want to work on them, then don't work on them. If you have things that you want to work on but you don't like working on them, well, either figure out why you don't like working on them. Maybe you're just doing it wrong. Maybe you don't know enough. Or maybe you just don't like it. You know, figure out what it is about the project and why you're not liking it, If it's just because it's too much work, but you still enjoy it, then space it out. Take your time. It's much better to take your time and finish a project than rush through and abandon it. Finished code is better than perfect code because perfect code doesn't exist. So, I mean, before I get too distracted, the message of day one was find things that you like to do and do them. And the message of day two is when you find those things that you like to do, don't ruin it by working too hard or trying to do too much. Take your time, do it right, do it at your pace. Because if you do things that you're interested in at somebody else's pace, you're not going to be happy. If you do things at your own pace that other people are interested in, well, you're not going to be happy. I mean, both of those things are going to impede really this fulfillment that you can get from life. And so if you can find things that you like and then do them in a way that you like, and obviously make sure that you're getting things done. You're not sitting around eating ice cream all day just waiting to be a Python expert. You're actually working on things. Then within reason, you're probably going to start strong and you're going to keep going strong, and nothing will be able to stop you. Well, I think that's enough rambling for today. We ended this one a little bit earlier, only 21 minutes. I think that 30 minutes is the tops on what I want these things to be. I'd like them to be 15 minutes, but as you can kind of see, this one was a 15-minute subject on its own, so maybe I'll split them up in the future. If you like this video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. If you have any thoughts on how to choose projects, how to stop burnout, if you feel like I rambled and didn't make any sense and you've got questions, you can leave them down in the comments below. I'm happy to answer. This is day 2, and it is a Thursday. So might have another video in the next couple days, might have a blog entry coming up. We'll see. You can check out the website, www.trialanderror.com. That's 3 R's in error, because everyone makes mistakes. I've been Wade and will continue to be Wade. I hope you enjoyed and have a wonderful day.